Hello students, welcome to our video lesson on print culture and the modern world. We now live in a world where the digital medium rules our lives. Before the coming of the internet and cell phones, the print medium helped people communicate, spread ideas, and bring societies together. It helped create the modern and global world. Today, we will learn about the history of print around the world. Print technology first originated in East Asia, in the countrysides of China, Japan, and Korea. Hand printing was the first form that developed since AD 594. The traditional Chinese accordion book was made by rubbing thin porous sheets of paper on wood blocks. It was folded and stitched at the side. It had beautiful calligraphy or stylized writing which could be duplicated by skilled craftsmen. Around the 16th century, the imperial state in China funded the printing of a vast number of books for the civil service exams. As an outcome, the number of candidates who enrolled in the exams went up. Reading material was no longer limited within the circle of scholars and academicians in the 17th century. Merchants and traders began to use different types of printed material. Reading was also the major form of entertainment and leisure before audiovisual and digital media developed. Western printing techniques were adopted and the publication of novels, poetry, autobiographies, and romantic dramas flourished. Women began to read for leisure, and many even took up writing and publishing. Shanghai in China was the center of the new print culture, where the transition from hand printing to mechanical printing took place. Let us now move to Japan. The Buddhist Diamond Sutra, containing text and woodcut illustrations, was the first book to be printed in Japan. Print culture moved from China to Japan thanks to the Buddhist missionaries. By the 18th century, different types of printed material was available in Japan, like printed textiles and paper money and books on a diverse range of topics like musical instruments, tea ceremony, travel, and etiquette. Chinese paper was transported to Europe through the famous Silk routes which connected Asia and Europe and was the hub of traders, travelers, and religious figures. Paper helped to produce manuscripts written by scribes. The noted traveler Marco Polo brought the technology of woodblock printing to Italy from his travels in China. Books produced with woodblock became popular in Italy. Expensive books meant for the aristocracy were often printed on vellum or parchment made from animal skin. This meant new employment for scribes and booksellers. Booksellers exported vast number of books all over Europe, and to produce them, they employed scribes. Woodblock printing required extensive copying, so a new way had to be devised to print books more quickly and cheaply. Johann Gutenberg in Germany developed one of the earliest printing presses in the 1430s. The first book that Gutenberg printed was the Bible. It took 3 years to produce 180 copies of this Bible. He improved the model of olive or wine press and created a more perfect system by 1448. In olive or wine press, grapes or olives were crushed by human hand or foot in a basin. Earlier printed books looked very much like handmade books with decorations and stylized metal letters. Books could be especially customized and rich buyers could choose their designs. Between 1450 and 1550, printing presses spread through the whole of Europe. As many as 20 million copies of printed books filled the markets of Europe in the 15th century. With the print revolution, a new reading public emerged across the world. The earlier oral culture, or the culture of spreading information by speaking, began to be replaced by the habit of reading. The levels of literacy among the common people had to be kept in mind while printing books. Ballads and folk tales were earlier part of the oral tradition. So, books publishing them were filled with pictures and illustrations to make them accessible to everyone. Even if someone could not read the book, they could still enjoy and understand its subject by looking at the illustrations. Printed material also brought insecurities and fear in the minds of the traditional people and authority figures. People's minds could be influenced through printed words, and it was not always possible to control all that was being printed. In 1517, Martin Luther wrote 95 theses to criticize many practices of the Roman Catholic Church. A printed copy of this appeared on the church door in Wittenberg, and it influenced the beginning of the Protestant Reformation. Ideas and opinions about religion became varied thanks to the profusion of printed material. A miller in Italy called Minocchio interpreted the message of the Bible in a new way and formulated his own ideas about religion. This greatly angered the Roman Catholic Church, and he was ultimately executed. Censorship of thoughts and ideas started as early as the 16th century. You have studied about how the Vernacular Press Act of 1878 took away the liberty of the press in India during British rule. In 1558, the Roman Catholic Church began banning books and maintained an index of prohibited books. The sale of books increased dramatically in the 17th and 18th centuries. The attraction of reading increased the literacy rate from 60 to 80%. Many types of books were carried by peddlers around England and France. Penny chapbooks were sold for a penny by chapmen in England. In France, the Bibliothèque Bleue were in demand. They were pocket-sized cheap books in blue covers. Histories and romances became popular among the reading public. The newspapers and the periodicals carried news of current affairs and connected the world's different communities. The public also became aware of the rational, scientific, and novel ideas of scientists and philosophers like Paine, Voltaire, and Rousseau. Novelists like Louis-Sébastien Mercier understood the proverb that the pen is mightier than the sword. The heroes in his novel are readers. They are transformed and enlightened by their readings. The new reading public developed a revolutionary and critical mindset among the people around Europe. This probably led to the French Revolution of 1789. Printed material had formed new opinions and opened the space for dissent, debates, and discussions. The traditional authority of the state and the church was now attacked by the literature, cartoons, and caricatures of the times. With that, we come to the end of the first part of our video lesson on the spread of print culture till the 18th century. In our next video, we will follow the development of print in the 19th century in various parts of the world. Till then, think of the newspapers you read today. Even in the age of ebooks, they are perhaps the longest surviving print material, communicating news to every household for years every day. See you soon in our next video.